They sold my house on Christmas Eve, bragged about it at dinner the next night, and had no idea that the property they had just handed to a stranger for cash was federal soil. 15 minutes after I made one phone call, 3 black SUVs pulled into my parents' driveway. My name is Meredith Calloway. For years, I sat at family gatherings in a plain sweater, saying little, while my relatives decided who I was without ever asking. That Christmas, their assumptions cost them everything. The tree cost more than most people's rent. My sister Camille showed off her new Mercedes, while her husband Grant bragged about his latest acquisition. I sat quietly with my coffee, 36 years old, invisible in the one place I was supposed to belong. My mother Eleanor called across the room for wine without looking at me, and I got up and poured it, the way I always did. My father Walter stood by the fireplace like he was opening a board meeting. "Your mother and I made an executive decision," he said. "That house in Spring Valley," my mother added, waving her hand, sitting empty, wasting equity. "It is not empty," I said. "I use it." "You are never here," my sister snapped. Then my father delivered the news like a triumph. "We sold it. 2.8 million, well above market." The room tilted under me. "You sold my house," I said. "Do not be dramatic," my mother replied. "You added us as co-owners years ago, remember, for estate planning. After our finder's fee, 20%, you will net 2.1 million by New Year's." "A finder's fee," I repeated. Grant leaned in, smug as ever, telling me I should be grateful they turned a stagnant asset into liquid capital instead of gallivanting around doing my little consulting work. "Who bought it?" I asked. "Some investment group," my father said, checking his phone. "Kensington Property Partners." Flipping luxury homes? That was when my phone buzzed. An urgent message from my director. "Security breach at Spring Valley. Unauthorized sale detected. Diplomatic security responding. Call immediately." I stepped into the bathroom and called in. My boss confirmed it. My parents had sold a property registered with the State Department as my secure diplomatic residence, part of my protocol as Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Vienna. The sale was void the moment it happened, but money had already changed hands, and that made it a federal matter. Criminal charges were possible. Agents were already 15 minutes out. I walked back into that living room and told them the truth I had been repeating for 4 years, and no one had ever heard. I do not work in consulting. I am the second highest ranking American diplomat in Austria. That house is not mine to sell because it belongs, in every legal sense, to the United States government. Silence swallowed the room. My father insisted it was absurd. My mother whispered that they did not know. I told them the registration was written plainly into the property records. "You did not look," I said, "because you had already decided you knew better than me." The doorbell rang. Through the window, dark suits and badges. Agent Reyes stood at the door and addressed my parents by name, informing them the sale of federal diplomatic property without authorization was a serious violation of law. My mother begged them to understand. My father demanded a lawyer. They were taken for questioning while my sister sobbed and accused me of choosing my career over family. I told her I was choosing reality over the fantasy she had built about me. That night, I flew back to Vienna, walking through the diplomatic security lane my family never knew existed, ignoring every frantic call behind me. 3 weeks later, the investigation closed. My parents were charged with unauthorized sale of federal property and fraud. They avoided prison through a plea deal but lost boards, titles, and $500,000 in penalties. 6 months after that, a letter arrived. Elegant stationery, careful apologies. I read it once and filed it away. 3 years later, I was named ambassador to Switzerland, the youngest woman in the country's history to hold the post. My parents sent flowers. I had my assistant confirm receipt. 5 years after that Christmas, I drove past the old house in Georgetown on impulse. My father answered the door, older, smaller, the Bentley long gone. My mother stood shaking. They told me they were proud, that they were sorry, not for getting caught, but for never truly seeing me. I told them I believed them. I told them I forgave them, not because they had earned it, but because I deserved to stop carrying the weight. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation, I said, and walked back to my car. My phone rang before I even reached the highway. My director, with news that the Secretary of State was recommending me for Deputy Secretary, one of the highest offices in the government.